I want for you today. This event, and I'm calling it an activation, is all about liberation. We have a virtual room full of healers and innovators and do-gooders, and I would even say world savers as we work on our little corner of the world. And stuff is coming up. Honestly, I haven't felt what I've been kind of feeling in the environment since the crash in 2008, and I would say that things are even more dramatic now. And I have a dream of a world of universal abundance and kindness and self-expression. And it's from that place that I'm coming to you today to uncover what I have observed to be the top obstacle to that vision. For those of you who don't know me very, very quickly, I have been coaching. It will be 32 years in June. So I started coaching when dinosaurs roamed the planet, and I've seen so much in this coaching world, and you just the changes and the evolution. And I've also had the lived experience of what actually works and what doesn't work. Because honestly, everything that I teach you and share with you today is stuff that I've learned from my own experience and then coaching thousands of clients. So, since we're going to be together for an hour or hour and a half, depending on your schedule. The first hour is going to be just content, content, content. And it's going to be experiential because you're all super smart people. And I don't need to teach you what you already know. And we can talk about money problems and all money beliefs, and it's going to be fascinating and intellectual, and it doesn't change anything. And that's not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in really dramatic, experiential, lasting, sticky change. And that's what I'm coming to our time together to provide. So, and then after that, half hour of Q&A because I really want to interact with you and I want to like fill in the gaps as they come in. So, but I want to honor everybody who has to be out of here in an hour. I really want to respect that. So that's how today is going to go. But first, I'm going to start just for those of you who never heard of me before this week. I've been coaching 32 years. My net worth is multi-millions of dollars. I'm literally moving to a new house as soon as this webinar is over. I delayed the move just because I didn't want to sleep in a different place the night before we do this. I have been interviewed by the Wall Street Journal and I've been in Yahoo Finance and Forbes and all the major TV networks in the United States. I've been on TV around the world. I've been a recurring guest on Fox News and Coast to Coast Radio and I focus on guiding world changing leaders and do-gooders to heal the rift between heart, spirit, and money to save the world as only you can. And especially in times like this, we cannot allow our inability to fix everything to stop us from doing what we can in our corner of expertise and impact. So that's where I am today. Lots of abundance, travel the world. I've got a husband who decided we should get married 100 times in 100 countries, and we're 29 weddings into that. Elizabeth, who is here, married us in Madrid in 2019. By the way, even that is related to the work that I'm going to share with you today. Because years after I slayed my money monster, I slayed my love monster. Met my husband 2 months later, at 45, and I'd never been married before. So where this work comes from is because for all the abundance that I enjoy now, that's not where I began. I began as what I would describe as a poster child for financial failure, despite doing all the things. And this is really, really important. I had the fancy East Coast college education. I had half a dozen coaching certifications. I had celebrity clients in LA, movie stars, TV stars, directors, all that kind of stuff. And the website, the brochures, the tagline, public speaking. And I was living in Los Angeles, March of 2003, and I was struggling to make $100 a month. I would say beat that, but I don't want you to beat that. I did that for you because I don't want you to be in that situation. And I know because I've been seeing the news, hearing the stories, reading emails from you that there's a lot of drama going on. And so I want to use that drama for your empowerment and your evolution. So back to my story, struggling to make $100 a month. So I'm taking classes. I'm taking classes teaching me how to do what I'm already doing. It's like that snail eating, or sorry, that snake eating its own tail. The marketing, the sales objections, all this stuff. I'm even working with a coach. I can't pay rent, but I'm working with a coach. And I have to say, thank goodness, because it saved my life. Because after another disappointment, I took a class on overcoming sales objections where they teach you what to say when somebody says, "Oh, I'd love to, but I can't afford it," or "I don't have the time," or whatever, all that kind of stuff. It's very, there are lots and lots of people who teach you what to say, and I'm a good student. I mean, I got straight A's even when I had a traumatic brain injury because I'm just really, I'm a good student. So I take this class on overcoming sales objections, 7 people in a row. I overcome their objections, 7 people in a row. Don't show up to our first session and don't pay me. And that was about the time that I lost it. That was like my Hail Mary. I was doing all the marketing. I was doing the public speaking. I had people who wanted to hire me, but then they weren't. I had people, I had this last ditch effort and I fell off a cliff emotionally where there was nothing left for me to do. And I panicked. And I don't know if any of you have ever felt that panic where you are doing all the things that you were told to do and you were promised, do this and you'll get these results. And you've taken the classes and worked with the coaches, read the books, taken the actions, whatever area of your life it is. And you aren't getting the results. And that was me. And I gave up hope. I don't even think I gave it up. I think it was just, dragged out of me, ripped out of me. I was frightened. I felt hated and unwanted by the universe. Like if you can't make a living, it feels so rejecting by existence itself and frightening and heartbreaking. And I didn't want to be here. And you know what that means? Like what was the point of playing this life game? I finally knew what I was good at, what I was here to do, and I couldn't make a living at it. It seemed like just a cruel joke by a universe that hated me and frightening. And I remember that day in my teeny tiny apartment that I obviously could not afford, and being in my bedroom and pulling out the blackout shades to like make my room like this dark crypt and getting on my bed and just crying and wailing and screaming and raging and crying myself out. And when I kind of sunk to the bottom of that experience, I had two thoughts. And one of those thoughts was, well, maybe money needed to be my next area of spiritual growth, which is a great idea. And it's also such a cheat for those of us who grew up in California, because like spirituality is in our water. And it's easy to be comfortable with spirituality and, balance all these higher chakras. And I thought, well, maybe if I had the money in, the spiritual box, maybe then I can deal with it. Which doesn't make it a bad idea, but it just shows you my discomfort with money. And the next question I had in my mind was, well, what's going on inside of me that can't be with money? Because it didn't make sense. I was doing all the things. And the interesting thing that came out of that was I had a call with my coach very soon after that changed my life. And I'm not going to go through the whole process and the whole steps like I usually do in podcast interviews and webinars and all that kind of stuff, because I'm going to really focus on the first half. But I'm going to just give you the cliff notes for what happened next. Was I had this conversation with a coach who graduated from coaching school the same day I did, but he had a house and I'm making $100 a month on a good month. And I had been working with him and doing everything that he suggested for months, and nothing was working. And now I come to this session just vomiting my despair and my rage and my hopelessness. And it inspired him to ask me a really weird question that I had never heard before. And I don't know where that question came from through him, but he asked me if my money was a person, who would my money be? And because I was in such a dark place, that money person showed up in my mind's eye really easily, which is unusual for me because I'm not a great visualizer. Because I'm so like micromanaging in my conscious brain that if you ask me to imagine sitting by a river, I will go through a slideshow of every river I've ever seen in my life, trying to decide which one. But at that moment, he asked me if my money was a person, who would my money be? And I saw instantly in my mind's eye this big, scary, dirty, violent biker dude. By the way, no problem with bikers, but this one was really bad and hated me and was dangerous. And I could feel it with my whole body. And that's important because this is not an intellectual exercise. And as soon as I saw him and felt him, and feel how my whole body wanted to create distance, it was my aha moment that it didn't matter what I was doing consciously, unconsciously, I was 24/7 creating distance from this guy. And there was no way that I could have money in my life if it was this guy because he wanted to kill me. And I never, ever knew that I felt that way about money because I'm not talking to you, my super smart, experienced, bright, educated, trained do-gooders. I'm not talking to you about the conscious stuff. That's why we're not going to talk about your limiting money beliefs, which are fascinating and we could talk about for years, but that's not where our beliefs really live. It's the stuff going on below the surface that we're going to address today. So I had to get rid of that guy, the imaginary money person, that relationship with money, which created a vacuum. It was like, because I lived in LA and I needed a relationship with money, so I needed to change it. And that became a new person who was an embodiment of love, what I now call the money honey. I didn't come up with that. That came up in a class I taught in 2005, and it just stuck. So the first is the money monster, and the second is the money honey. And today we're focusing on the money monster because that is where I spend the lion's share of my time and energy when I coach a client. because it's the most important part. It is the foundation, it is the catalyst. It's also the part that we would like to skip over. And I had a client about 20 years ago who asked, "Hey, can we just skip that and just do the money honey?" And I didn't think that was a good idea, but he really wanted to do that. So we tried it. And a week later, he came back and said, "We need to slay the money monster." So what I share is based on what I have seen work over and over again and what doesn't work. Uh, so where do I want to go next? Why I focus on money? Well, there are obvious reasons. Our survival depends on it. But it's also the number one excuse human beings give for everything we can't have, do, or be. So it is the ultimate door, pain door. It's the ultimate pain door to our evolution. I believe life gets our attention for our evolution primarily through three spiritual teachers, money, love, and health. But money gets our attention the fastest and the loudest because everything depends on that. And a really big point that I want to make before we move on and dive into uncovering how to uncover your money monster so we can get rid of it is that it is my experience coming from all these decades of coaching human beings. It has been my observation that change happens at the speed of safety. So if you are doing all the things, all the right things, all the things you were told to do, all the things you were promised if you do X, you'll get Y. If you've been taking the actions, and I don't care whether it's money or it's losing weight or if it's getting the soulmate or getting over whatever that obstacle is, because it's all our relationship with life. Money is a mirror of our relationship with life. So when I talk about relationship with money, spoiler alert, I'm really talking about relationship with life. But I have the financial examples and success with clients to justify talking about relationship with money. Like my client Marina was it was 2019, and she's an entrepreneur in Italy who is just hemorrhaging money in her high-end cold press juice business. And there's a friend, a mutual friend, just sent me a photo like a couple weeks ago of that famous German designer who always wore the sunglasses, who died a few years ago. I can't remember. Drinking her juice. Because she's based in Milano. And so she reached out to me because she wanted to sell the company, and she knew what she wanted to sell it for, and she knew what the terms were that she wanted to sell it for. And she was young, she was still in her 20s, and all the adults in her world were telling her it was impossible. Her parents, her lawyers, her business coaches were saying, "No, you can't sell your company for this amount and keep your IP and not stay on as a consultant." So she came with me to Bali. And we slayed her money monster, and she had a new relationship with money. Went home and sold the business for exactly what she wanted, the terms that she wanted. And then she came back for more coaching because she wanted a boyfriend. And then she went to Burning Man, did not meet a boy, met a girl, went back to Bali, January of 2020. A thing happened in the world. Her girlfriend was from the States and Argentina. She was from Italy. They decided to stay in Bali for the pandemic, had a baby, and they are married. And they named their daughter Athena because change happens at the speed of safety. And that's why we want to find out what you're protecting yourself from. And one point that I really want to make is I do not believe in self-sabotage. Karl Lagerfeld, that was the designer drinking Marina's juice. So I don't believe in self-sabotage. I just don't think it's a thing. It doesn't make any sense. What I do believe in is self-protection. And so if you're doing all the things consciously to get certain results and you are not getting the results, it is my experience that unconsciously you are protecting yourself from what you are pursuing. And you have good reasons. You have good reasons. So, what we want to do is make what you desire safe. And we're going to start with money, but you can use this for other things. Clients come to me and we slay the money monster, and then they come back for other stuff like Marina with love, like Jude with health. Uh, because it's all just doors into your relationship with existence. We make what you want safe, and then that thing you want has a high tendency to come in. Like with all that energy that you were building, doing the actions and not getting results, it's almost like this protective wall comes down and then it all pours in, and it can pour in really, really quickly. Like Leslie made almost $1.3 million over 3 days after our 15-minute coaching conversation. She had first made about $70,000 on her own using my Money Got Us Home study course. And then we had a quick start call. And then she had this house that had been for sale for years. Nobody had looked at it for over a year. And within an hour of our coaching session, somebody called, it sold. And then she came with me to Bali because she wanted to slay her love monster. So wherever you are, we're going to start with money. But if you know you've got something else and you've done the work before, use it for whatever you want to work with it. What I've learned is money is the number one excuse for what we can't have, be, or do. Change happens at the speed of safety. And this is really important. Spiritual bypassing does not work. If high vibing and positive thinking works for you, do what works for you. 100%. I will never ever take away from anyone what works for you. And if you are not getting the results you want, then I'm glad you're here. I have an example. My client Jean from about 10, 15 years ago had literally invested $42,000 into a law of attraction coach over 6 years and manifested nothing in all that time. And her coach blamed her for not doing it right. She came to me, we uncovered her money monster, we slayed her money monster. She met her new relationship. We created the new relationship with money, her money honey. And within 2 months, she got, and oh, I forgot to mention, she was living on public assistance. Did not have a job, was living on public assistance in a terrible apartment, terrible neighborhood. Within 2 months, she got a new job. She did not get the job she applied for. She got the better job that she really wanted, that she didn't apply for. And moved to a better, got a public assistance, moved to a far better home in a better neighborhood, and got a great boyfriend because her life became safer. So I call this process financial alchemy because alchemy is the transmutation of lead, as in lead and human experience, into spiritual and material gold. And we're going to dive into the lead now. This is the ideal year to do it because of this fire horse energy is accelerating things. Like secrets are coming out in the world. I don't know if you must have noticed. I mean, we've got these horrific, nightmarish scandals of sex abuse, and we have, I try to avoid naming actual events, but I'm just kind of horrified by what's going on in Nigeria, and Boko Haram said that they would slaughter 400 women and children if they don't receive a certain amount of money. I mean, how, when we see horrible people do horrible things for money and get away with it, or we see horrible people do horrible things and get away with it because they have money, and you are a sensitive do-gooder person with a feeling of integrity, how does that not curdle your relationship with money? And while we see these horrible things being done without accountability, we also all know really good people who are suffering financially. And some of you are those people. And we see these examples, and the brain generalizes, especially because these examples lead in the news. So we see all the people doing the terrible things, all the rich people doing the terrible things, all the people doing terrible things for money and the crimes and all that, because it's clickbait. If it bleeds, it leads in the news. We don't see or retain all the wealthy people doing great acts of service and philanthropy. And even if we do, what happens is our brain filters it out. Our brain is designed hundreds of millions of years to scan for danger. It's the amygdala, it's the reptile brain in the back. It beats, the frontal cortex genius zone in evolutionary years by millions and millions. We just are far, far better equipped to scan for danger and file negative things than positive things. So not only do we generalize the negative, but then we collect it, it sticks, and it creates this horrible relationship with money that we may have no awareness of, while at the same time, sort of suppressing the positive things. And that creates a very dangerous counter-intention for people with ethics and people who want to do good. We don't want to be part of the monstrosity. And yet we want to live well, and that creates a huge inner conflict. And I'm not just talking to people who are really in scarcity right now. I am speaking to those of you who are in fear and scarcity right now. I'm also talking to people who have made millions of dollars, and you're still feeling the danger at the door because of world events, because the world is feeling unsafe. You could be a target. You could be worried about losing everything. And those are really legitimate fears, especially when we don't want to be part of this monstrosity. And the fire horse energy of the year is just amplifying all of it and speeding it up and bringing it to light, which is a good thing. Not comfortable, but a good thing. Because this is a year whose energy is liberation. So let's use it to get rid of this toxic relationship with money. So the money monster is not your money story. And it's not just money beliefs. Money beliefs, money experiences are a great place to start. But where this work goes in a very different direction is the root cause. And I'm gonna pause and take a look. Yeah, Jules, I feel the pain in my heart. I want you to be feeling the pain in this part. I'm not a sadist, I promise. But this is embodied work because the subconscious is not the intellectual ideas that we already know about. And many of you know, maybe background in NLP, training with Chris or somebody else, that our beliefs and our attitudes and our actions come from the subconscious. And that's where our results come from. And our subconscious is our friend. Even if it's protecting us from what we need to survive, it's coming from a positive intention. The monster is not. The monster is something wholly, wholly separate. So the root cause of this money monster experience whatever the money drama, fear, anxiety, whatever it looks like for you right now. The root cause, again, it's not money beliefs or money stories. It's much deeper than that because money is just this thing that human beings invented. It's not real, but what it represents is very real and really goes to the heart of what it is to be a human. It is love. Anything that has ever made you feel unloved or unlovable is going to be extremely relevant here. Value, anything that has made you feel unvalued or unworthy is going to show up in this monster relationship with money and life. Safety, anything that has ever made you feel unsafe, especially if it doesn't directly look like it has to do with money. I'm talking about accidents, illnesses, violence, injuries, the state of the world, anxiety about climate, about terrorism, about medical care, any of that, really, really important. And power, anything that has ever made you feel powerless. Those are the root causes of this money monster that operates below the surface 24/7. So, what I invite you to do, I want to hear from you now. Uh, what is going on or might be going on for you that might be contributing to your money monster? I want us to get to the root cause. What is making the world feel unsafe? Anything that is making you feel unloved, unwanted, unsafe, or powerless. And it can be personal or it can be world events. Um, my client, Deborah Hurwitz, from 2018, uh, when she hired me, a lot of financial anxiety. She really had doubts whether it was a worthwhile investment. She had a family member who really wanted her to spend the money on something else. And she came to Bali. We slayed that initial monster. She has made millions and millions of dollars since then. And then last year, she wanted me to coach her live on her summit because even though she was making so much money, world events were making the world feel dangerous to her. And she did not want a new money monster to take away what she had built. And she could feel it coming on. So, um, Athena, the pain trapped in your body from traumatic brain injury, I feel that so closely as somebody who has had a traumatic brain injury. So in your case, it's like your monster has tried to kill you and is still attacking you. And that's how I would open the door for you to this deeper monster. Um, and yeah, I know what it feels like when it's that invisible injury. Oh, I'm seeing more terror that I'm not good enough. That I think that is the deepest. Yeah, that the world is heartbreaking and inching towards multiple apocalypses. Yes. Um, Danielle, violence, lack of safety in all areas, devalued, lacking power. Uh, World events. Yeah. Um, Going through a period of big debt. Yeah. So unworthy. I'm so happy two people brought unworthy because I think that's the deepest human pain. Uh, it's that unworthy and not wanted, trauma. I'm so grateful that you're going to such deep places. And bringing up these experiences on such a deep level gives you a huge advantage. I sometimes say that the person who is in the most fear and anxiety, congratulations. Accessing the monster is the easiest for you. This is the part of my process that I spend the most time on. Usually it takes maybe a half hour. In some instances, it was just a few minutes. In one instance, it took 9 hours. So if you have access to it, gives you such a huge advantage in this process because it's gives you leverage. It's like a slingshot, and the pain that you're feeling now is creating the tension to catapult you into a different experience and a different relationship. I'm seeing some very, very deep things in the chat. Thank you for that. So we're focusing today on the first half of the process because that's the foundation. And when people write to me and it's they're not getting there on their own, this is always where I look for what's missing. So taking this experience, I invite you to feel for yourself how big. If this is where we're gonna go weird. And I want you to take all of this and imagine that there is a real live external entity responsible for all the pain you've experienced and all the things in the world that wake you up at night. Imagine that there's a real live, wholly malevolent entity responsible for all this pain. Because imagination is how we communicate with what's already going on in our subconscious so that we can bring it to the surface and do something about it. And we're going to make it all less abstract and put it into the form of your unique monster. We're going to start with just how big. How big is yours? And by the way, the bigger the monster, the bigger the result and the reward on the other side. So allow yourself to have a huge monster. And feel into, does it feel hot or does it feel cold? If you were to just guess. So all that pain into this one entity, does it feel hot or cold? Maybe it's male or female. What does it smell like? What does it smell like? Because smell is our most emotional sense. What do its fingernails look like? What do its teeth look like? What do its eyeballs look like? Staring at you, glowering at you. What does it think to itself when it looks at you? You may want to take the worst thing you've ever said to yourself and put it in that monster's mouth because it whispered those thoughts and ideas into your head in your own voice to trick you. What does it want to do to you? And I want you to look really honestly because you've had this relationship for a very long time, maybe your whole life, maybe even before you were born, going back generations. The monster is everything that makes you want to not be alive. That is my cleanest definition of the monster. Everything that makes you want to not be alive. It is not you, it is your enemy. It's also a portal, and it serves a purpose because now you get to decide. I want you to take a look at what this monster has cost you in your life already. In money, in love, in health, in happiness. Because while it's imaginary, it's also real. Because this is how our subconscious processes information. This relationship with life is real. We're calling it your money monster, but it's a life monster. It just shows up in money if money's a problem. And it'll show up in love, and it'll show up in health and other areas of life that cause you anguish. What does it cost you financially, emotionally, and physically? What has it done and what will it do to you if it is allowed to continue? And I want you to feel that. And I want you to see that. Because now it's time to make a decision. Only one of you gets to survive. And I encourage you to choose yourself. How many of you choose you? Let me see a hand. Good. So, can I suggest something to help you go even deeper and destroy this monster? Yes? Any interest? Okay. So, here's what I want you to know from this interaction that we're having here together today. I hold that you are so much more powerful than you realize, and that's part of the job of being human, is to both experience limitation, experience weakness, experience victim experiences, because they are part of why we incarnated. And they soften us, they give us the capacity and the humility to respect the experiences of others. And they give us impetus to growth. It's part of the job and the game that we came here for. And at the same time, we are so much more fantastically powerful than we know. And it always surprises us. It always shocks me when clients show up with this, these crazy manifestations and success stories. Perry, who started at zero and had to borrow the money to go on my retreat and made over $12 million over the next 3 years. And I've got the stories, they never stop. A friend of mine who was on this webinar today was talking about defining miracles as The universe is made up of patterns. And we as human beings are expert pattern recognizers. And when we break a pattern, it shows up as a miracle because it doesn't fit the pattern of what is supposed to happen. So wild things outside of probability happen all the time. So in an ordinary universe, or okay, in other webinars that don't go as deep on the monster part, I talk more about slaying the monster and creating the money honey. Uh, the important part of destroying the monster, and you can use any weapon you imagine, and I highly, highly recommend making it as dramatic and honestly violent and permanent as possible. And I say that as somebody who like covers my eyes at violence in movies. But there's a power to choosing yourself and annihilating what does not have permission to exist in your life experience. What I would like to invite you to, if this feels right to you, is I have room to offer a limited number of free momentum sessions to look at coaching. And I have something that's very time sensitive, so I want to bring it up right now because it's the only one I'm doing this year, and I can never promise what's going to happen next year. I learned that in 2020. I did a retreat in 2019 and didn't go back to Bali until 2024. And that was a world event, but life experiences change. We have a lot of people talking about accidents, traumatic brain injuries. I was T-boned by a car 2.5 months ago. So I never take anything for granted and I do what's in front of me that I'm guided to do. So, what is coming up? And this is specifically for women. Men, I love you. I coach you. I've always coached men. This one thing, not for you. But love anyway. Reach out to me and we'll find other things to do together. What is coming up is I am leading my 14th Ultimate Money Goddess Retreat in Bali in a month. I'm actually getting on the plane a month from today. The retreat is May 31st to June 5th. It's not like any other retreat I've experienced because I keep it super tiny. I will never ever take more than 8 women because I know my capacity for what needs to happen on that retreat. I coach each woman individually from monster to honey, and they know it. It is my number one millionaires maker. I mentioned Deborah, I mentioned Marina, I did not mention Gabby from Peru. 6 figures in debt and sending money home to her parents while trying to live in New York City. Hired me in 2013, did my retreat. She went home, started getting the job interviews that she wasn't getting beforehand. Again, who knows why? Made so much money that she had to learn how to invest. She is now the CEO of Latina Wall Street, multimillionaire on the Forbes Finance Council, and has a billboard in Times Square. And the billboard uses her headshot that we took of her in Bali. So this is your opportunity to, I cannot sell the retreat on this call because it's invitation only. It's conversation. We'll have a momentum call to take a look at where you are, what is going on with you and your money monster, what you need, and whether this makes sense. Uh, and if it does, then we will just talk about the logistics and make it happen. But time is very, very short. It was full. And one of my women had to drop out, so I want to fill that spot. I always have a perfect group. I'm very uh, happy with that because you're all sharing such a deep experience. And I've had women who say, I don't even like other women, and I loved every woman on this retreat. Because it's not just you slaying your monster, but you've got this sisterhood that is determined that your monster is not going to survive. And that ups the energy. And even if when you're not on the hot seat, I notice women are iterate with every iteration going deeper and getting a stronger relationship with their money, honey. Um, my client Anna Gatman, I had coached her years before, and then she wanted to come back to my retreat. And the funny thing was she was so skeptical. I was like, she just wasn't sure it was worth the investment, and she was sitting like this. And she was the hardest person I've ever coached on this retreat in my life, which is so funny because I think I can predict because I coached her before, and she was that 9 hour person. And over the next 2 months, she manifested over $1.2 million. So she became a huge fan. I mean, she experienced the work, but I share her because I understand skepticism. I am the skeptic when I go to events. And then she came back and wanted to assist me at my next retreat. So 6 days in Bali. It's a money goddess experience, private suites, soaker tubs. But the thing is, for a week, you get coaching with me, and we start with the money monster slaying and your money honey in a way that it sticks so that for the rest of your life you talk about before and after Bali. Laura, are you still there?
Yes.
You went to Bali. Do you have any words about your experience? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Um, it was before I went to Bali. I had slayed my monster, and all of a sudden, the Bitcoin I had invested just went sky high, and so I could invest. I could afford your retreat out of the blue. But after slaying my monster,
And what did you get out of the retreat?
um, I get I mean, it's really Bali, the pleasure, the sweetness of Bali. That was something amazing for my nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
The all the experiences we had together, going to the healer, going to the temple, going to the massage, and the depth of the work, of course,
Well, I
together.
remember it was very, very deep with you and very courageous and kind of
Mm,
set the bar for all the other sessions after.
mm, yeah, yeah. So a very unique time, uh, and so you managed to leave plenty of room, so it could be easier to process.
Yeah,
Mm,
that's important.
mm,
Um, the coaching is the most important part. So I schedule it to allow coaching sessions to go as long as they need to go, and for people to get the coaching on whatever they want. That's why I keep it so small, 6 to 8 women, because I'm your coach that entire week. We start with the money monster. We go through the goddess archetypes. That's why it's called money goddess. And every goddess archetype addresses a wound and a superpower. And it's all designed to make this shift change your life forever so that you can talk about your life before and after Bali. And whatever you want coaching on, I'm your coach. So I keep that space because one of the women in your group would come to me during off hours when you guys were doing other stuff because she had stuff that she wanted to go deeper on. So I am going to drop um, a link If you want to book a momentum session with me, women, you know, the Bali thing is on the table. Uh, and if that's not right for you, that's perfectly fine. And we can take a look at other things to do instead. And men too, obviously. So this URL is for um, the retreat. But even if the retreat is not right for you, this is a great web form just for, oh, how are people in the waiting room? I don't even know what that means. Oh, oops. Okay, hold on. Teaching and technology at the same time are just not my thing. I don't know why oh, there we go. Okay, so to schedule, that is for Bali and coaching. Guys, here's a link for you directly if you want to reach out to me. Because I love you too, and I don't want you to feel excluded. So now I want to shift to question and answer. Uh, and hear your experiences. Because I want to respect that it's the top of the hour. Some of you have places to go, but I also want to be around to answer questions. Oh, thank you, Beth. Mwah. Any questions about Money Monsters, about the retreat, anything we covered? You can type it in or you can unmute yourself.
Hi
Get me while I'm
Morga.
here.
Morgana,
Hello,
this
Laura.
hi everyone. I have a question. I probably won't I mean, I know I won't be able to do the retreat in Bali.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I'm wondering now after the exercise, I have a pretty solid, at least image of my money monster,
Good.
who looks very much like one of my parents. If there's anything I can do, like, today or something because now I have that connection with it. So I'm wondering if there's something that I can do to disconnect from it. And yeah,
Yes. Um,
besides taking the retreat, I'm wondering if there's just a little,
yeah.
something I can do.
Well, I have other programs besides the retreat,
Uh-huh. Okay.
online or coaching.
Oh,
I'm bringing up the retreat just because it's my favorite thing in the world, and I do it rarely.
it sounds
So
amazing. Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
you. So two things come up for me. Um, and by the way, I have slayed so many monsters related to my mother.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and
Yeah.
but what I invite you is to not make the monster the parent because you would not really kill your parent.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to make the monster bigger than your parent who uses your parent and anybody else who hurt you. And by the way, I slayed a love monster last week and I slayed a new money monster yesterday in preparation for today.
Mm.
And
So
I have,
they come up in new forms.
yes,
Mm,
yes. Um,
okay.
and that's not a bad thing because here's why. And the first time I slayed my monster in 2003, I didn't have another monster until 2008 when I was just
Ah,
seeing things I had never seen before. People calling me with such horror stories and with no access to credit cards. And I grew up in the 70s and 80s where if you had a pulse, they give you a card. So it eroded my positive relationship with money, and I needed to slay a new monster. And on the other side of slaying that monster and getting a new money honey, I had my first six-figure quarter at that time. So slaying the monster and having a new honey evolves you. And for me, it becomes sort of like spiritual hygiene. And I was thinking, I want to be so present and I want to be so helpful for my people on today's webinar. So I'm going to see what is going on in the world that I'm not feeling right with. And I am going to create a new big monster and I'm going to do whatever it takes to annihilate it and create space for love. And give that love person will be my new relationship with life and money. And he is so sweet and he is so positive. And that's the energy that I bring to you today. And every time I do it, I get a new insight and I get a new breakthrough.
Mm.
Um, hey, back in the day, I thought, oh, do it once, one and done. And then I had a client in 2005 or seven at a certain point, the years sort of blend together. And she was in a group that I was coaching, but she was going gangbusters and she went from mountains of debt. And one of those clients was like, oh my God, I can't let her hire me because their circumstances are so scary. And then the voice in the back of my head says, shut up, she's an adult, let her do what she wants to do. And then she hired me, and then she's making tens of thousands of dollars every month. And she went on this money moon with her money honey to Miami and you know really powerful stuff. And I asked her, what's going on that you're having these dramatic results? And she said, well, in the time we've been coaching, you and I have slayed a couple money monsters, but I've slayed another 13 on my own. I was like, oh. So what I want, and that's why I have my my book and uh and my website, morganaray.com, and my online programs, and my one-on-one coaching, and my group, and my retreat. All of it is with the desire that you become experts, monster slayers as needed. And then tell me about it because, you know, your your happiness and your success stories are what make my life happy. Danielle, you have your hand up.
Hi, yeah.
Hi.
I so want to go to Bali. I don't know if you know this about me, Morgana, but I played gongs in a Balinese gong kebyar gamelan for years in Woodstock.
Whoa, how
And
wild is that?
yeah, and the cultural attaché from Washington came up with his wife a few times to work with us, and he would turn to me and would go, "Good gong." So, so I really want to go, but we are my husband and I are just tapped down to practically zero. So I we'll see. My questions right now, I guess I have two questions. One is I did the Money Monster Money Honey process a number of years ago.
Mhm.
And at that time, my money monster was pretty much my husband's ex-wife who has decimated our finances and is a crazy person. Um, but when you were asking about what gender the monster is, and I also
Mhm.
came up with my dad for part of it, but so I mean, it's about blending all these
Yeah.
people, into something. Um, so
It
that's
doesn't have to be male or female.
mm,
It can be blended.
hmm
Uh, Sometimes it's just going to be really clear. Oh, this is a guy, or ooh, this is female.
maybe it's
It
got two
doesn't have to
heads. What do you
be.
think?
It can be what it really everything I say, it depends on the individual. There are certain trends that I find really, really helpful, because you really want it to feel real
Yeah.
to you, and you really want it to feel gone when it's gone. And that allows this new relationship with life that we may call your money honey, or your money love honey, or your love health or money, whatever the
Mm.
honey is. I never know until we open it up and we
Hmm.
find out where the pain is and what wants to happen. But I remember doing a webinar many years ago with this guy named Chris Clavio, was one of the attendees. And he had a money honey, but the money honey was this, imaginary girl in a cute type dress, but she was kind of talking down to him and making him feel bad. And I heard that and I said, that's not a money honey, that's a money monster in a cute dress.
Mm.
And when he slayed it and had a new money honey on the other side, his response was, "Oh my God, that feels so real." And that's what I'm looking for. So honestly, I want and would be thrilled if every one of you, even without me, slays your money monster and has a fantastic money honey.
Mm.
And let me know about it. What I do on my retreat, and really the only reason to hire me, is that I can guarantee that I can take you farther
Mm.
safely than you can take yourself. And I just know things from experience that you can't know, and that's fine. And I know that I will get you on the other side. I know what to look for. I know what to listen for. I know what to feel for. And I have one client called me, what did she call me? A mutator.
Mm.
And she defined that as through my communication, I energetically shift other people. So I love Bali because it's so intimate, and because I love my women on that retreat, and we stay in each other's lives for years and years and years. One of the women coming to Bali this year went to Bali 10 years ago, and she's coming back this year. She had to save up a long time for it because she was a public school teacher on a public school budget. And after Bali, she made more money than she ever imagined she could. She has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on personal development, not because she needed it, but because she enjoys it. Going on luxury spiritual cruises with, I think, Joe Dispenza or somebody
Oh,
on
yeah, yeah.
in Egypt, stuff like that. And she's coming back this year. And I have a client from 20 years ago who's coming back this year. Laura Kane, you can see her on my website. She's the very top testimonial where she made $10,000 in 24 hours of our first coaching conversation. But now she's playing a bigger game and she's got new things that she wants support on. So she's coming back to Bali. Uh, I had years where I had hundreds of clients that I couldn't even remember who was who. And I coached over 300 people in 2007. And I made a decision, no, I don't, that's not how I want to coach. So I've gone extremely in the other direction of working with fewer and fewer and fewer people so I can love them more and more and more. And that's what this retreat is. Danger is, yeah. You'll be in my life for a really long time. Jules has raised her hand.
Hello,
Please.
hello. I
Hello.
so enjoyed meeting you and getting your transmission. Very exciting. Just got back from Bali a couple months ago, and best of luck on that. I'm sure you'll find your person. I think the person before the last person asked a similar question. I feel like I was super interested and excited, and scared to create my monster with you on this call, but I feel like we were all kind of left with like the monster's created, but now what? So I was wondering if you could, I don't know how long the call's supposed to be. I can't be on for much longer, but can
Yeah.
you give us through the rest of the imagination so that we don't have just our monsters lingering in the
Yes. And I will also give you resources because I go into that far more in depth than other stuff, and a lot of free resources. Um,
really fascinating work. And I've taken notes and I've got him. He's there. It's like,
yeah.
and I'm like,
The
now
big, okay,
what?
here's the biggest, the most important thing, and I want it to be big and I want it to be there, is that decision. It's sort of like that Monty Python, thou shalt not pass decision, that only one of you survives and you are going to be the one who survives. And you choose to annihilate this beast by any means necessary, anything you can imagine. Whether it's a machete, a knife, a lightsaber, a machine gun, a flamethrower, a Death Star, or the full force of the sun beaming from your chest. I had one client run over her monster with a monster truck. It's very personal. Some people will act it out physically, some people will, it'll just be in your mind, but it's going to be yours. And the trick is to make sure it's completely gone. Leave no bloody bits. It's completely binary. The main thing is what we focused on today is making it big enough, real enough, and painful enough that you are willing to do what it takes to reject and annihilate this entity of everything that has ever made you want to not be alive. And when you've cleared that space, there is room for love.
And that's where the money, honey, comes in.
Yeah, I call it money, but it's not. It's just an area of our life that needs our love and healing. And it's part of our job as human beings. Job not as like punching the clock, but this project that we took by being born as human beings on this planet, that we took on having flesh suits and dealing with all the painful, difficult, challenging things that come with having bodies. In Buddhism and Hinduism, they believe that the spiritual path of the householder, people like us with jobs and houses and families and cats or dogs, that our spiritual path is much, much, much harder than the ascetic who just renounces it all and sits on a mountaintop. And I honor that. And we use it. And your victim experiences are not something to be ashamed of. They're something to use. It is the lead, it is the fuel to transform into gold. So, if you want to connect with me directly and take a look at slaying your monster and creating your money honey, going to Bali or what would be a better fit for you, then we have two links in the chat. If somebody doesn't have them, just let me know and I'll drop them again. And and I look forward to connecting and getting to know you better. That's why I do do it this way through conversation, is because I really do take the coaching relationship as sacred. I love my clients and I want to take the people who are going to benefit the most. And so I want to get a sense of who you are and then propose for you to choose what is the best fit for you and your journey. Because I believe we're all headed to the same goal, especially where it pertains to money. The purpose of money is the financial freedom to focus our lives on quality love, quality lifestyle, and quality legacy. That's all there is. And the sooner money is no longer the fall guy, the bad guy, the monster, then the real stuff of life gets to be addressed. And it's always the stuff about love and worth and purpose. Why we're here to help. Any, I think that's it for questions. What I invite you to do is to drop into the chat just one word as an anchor for what you are going to take away from today's meeting. Warrior princess, insight, shamelessness. I love that. Freedom, decided firmly. Beautiful. Yeah, dropping in a word, slay. I love that. Miracles are possible. Liquidity. It's a combination. It's sort of a way for your brain to just catalog everything that we did, so it's more easily accessible to you. Both combining the word and then the physical experience of typing it in helps you lock it in. Love, safety, confidence, transmutation. Beautiful words. Okay. So we are done. Thank you so much for coming. And if I look forward to our conversations after this uh, activation, and I also look forward to Mutator, Annihilate as a positive. Where do we find you? Great question. So easiest place is morganaray.com. And to learn more about Bali, be a money goddess.com. You can apply there. I also put in a link just for the application itself. And so, thank you. Thank you for sharing this beautiful connection and your time, love, and intention with me. And I wish you abundance and evolution and never ever let the impossibility of any one of us fixing all the problems in the world stop us from doing the good we can do.